Yes.
And we're on.
Okay. Perfect. So welcome to our Google Classroom training for today. I'm Tom. I work at Mouse. We partner with the DOE on a bunch of things.
Serena!
So if everyone can make sure they have their Google Meets muted at the bottom of your screen, just one more time. There are a couple more people coming in. The mute button is that microphone button down at the bottom of your screen. Make sure it's turned to red. Right? And to access the chat, you go to the top right corner of your screen. You can answer questions on the chat, and team members will be available to answer them right away. Right? So today, and we also have our agenda that you can access. I'm going to send it out on the chat one more time. And that is available for you to follow along. There are also some links that if you have a specific question on Google Classroom, you might be able to just follow that link.
Your mic is on.
I don't see my name.
You're right there.
No, my name on the list.
Well, they can see you.
You're here and we can hear you.
You're right there on the list.
No, I am doing something.
Everyone needs to mute themselves and stay muted the entire time. Right? Just so we don't have any background noise.
But I don't think you want to see yourself, do you?
So everyone,
Dawn, if
How do you
you
go
could hear
back?
us, just hover your mouse to the bottom of the screen and click on the microphone to mute yourself. Or Jackie, can you mute
the
her since
volume?
you own this meet?
yep, there
Yeah,
you go.
I can mute on the meet, so I'll do that.
All right. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get started. So this is what you see when you go to the agenda for today. And there is the quick.
Again, this is not where the Google demo is happening. The demo is happening on this link. Please click that link and we'll take you where the
Thank you, Kate. Awesome. So we're going to start with some quick links. Google Classroom, you can access a couple different ways. If you're on your regular Google homepage, I know y'all call this the waffle. It's the Google Apps quick links.
Google demo is
All the
happening.
Google Apps. And Classroom, you can rearrange these in your settings, but my Classroom is down here at the bottom. And you can also just go to classroom.google.com. That'll get you there quickly. If you're accessing this for the first time, it'll pop up and just have you activate Google Classroom for your account. And it'll take you through a couple of the intro steps. And if this is your first time getting started with Google Classroom, you might want to start with some of the helpful resources that Google has available. This is the one that's linked to the top of the demo page. This is the first day of Classroom resource. And this is from Google themselves. They have a bunch of videos, tutorials with specific tips and tricks from different teachers, including things like how to use the grading tool, which we're not going to cover during this training. But after you get started, you might want to start activating these more advanced tools. All right, so we're going to get started with demoing some different parts of Google Classroom. I'll show you a couple of different things in these demo classes that I've created. All right, so here are all the different parts of Google Classroom. So this is the stream. This is kind of like your Facebook news feed, where everything you post here in the order in which it has been posted is listed. All right, and this is the opening part where you can see all your important information. So here's your class code that you can share with students. If you were in a live classroom, you could use this display to make it bigger for your students and even make it even bigger. You can select a theme. Mine is coffee themed because that's what gets me through every day of work. So that's important to me. And then you can go to the different tabs up here. So I have a classwork tab, This is where everything that I've assigned to my students is organized in these different topics, which are the big headings. I'll show you how to create all these in just a second. You can go to your People tab, where you can see your different co-teachers and your students, and your Grades tab, which we won't get into today, but you can certainly go through the tutorials and play around with grading as you get started. All right. So I'm going to demo how to create your first class in just a second. But I wanted you to see what this is a decently created demo class with all these topics, just so you see what we're going to create. All right, so going back to my classroom, we are going to, up here, make sure that we know where all the settings are for Google Classroom as well. So you have your calendar, you can toggle between classes, you can access some of your notification settings. You can add a profile picture so that students know that it's, students and parents know that it's you, the teacher, who's on there. Makes it a little more personal. You can toggle your notifications. So when you first start teaching, you'll notice you get a lot of notifications, like maybe too many. When students comment on posts, when students, you might want to get comments that mention you, but you can toggle it on and off as you go. Right now, all my email notifications are on. So you can go back to my classes, and we are going to start creating our new class from scratch. All right, so if you click on the plus button, there's the option to join a class or create a class. So join a class is the only thing that student accounts can see, and create a class is only available on educator accounts. So I'm going to create a class. This is going to be Maths Demo 2. Section, subject, room are up to you. Room, I've been doing virtual. Make sure, can everyone see my computer screen right now? I'll make sure that I'm presenting. Yep, perfect. Just want to make sure everyone stays muted down at the bottom of your screen. You'll see that turn off microphone should be turned to red. Perfect, thank you. So you can make this with different sections and subjects. You'll want to potentially think out beforehand, like what section names, what class names, what room names make sense for you and your school. Or you can fill those out later on. And of course, hopefully you'll be planning this a little bit with your grade team partners and with your school. Maybe your school has some guidance about organization of your classes. I know that certain schools have said they're having co-teachers added into different people's classes so they can assign things to one another. So I'll show you how to do that in just a second. So this is my newly created class, and I am going to start. A really good place to start is to get myself organized. And our topics are how we organize our different work. So one topic might be intro, start here. Maybe my students have never used Google Classroom before, and I want them to learn by going through a video or reading a document. Or I might put my online classroom rules here so that students can see this as soon as they sign on. All right, I might have another topic of English projects. I might have another topic of video chat links for when I do video chat check-ins with students. And I might have another topic for materials and resources. And depending on your group of students and your subject area, you might organize this in different ways. Just think about like all of the resources that you provide students on a daily basis and all the resources that they have available to them or that you would like to be available to them when they do their work so that you can provide some more resources. So once you make these topics, you'll notice my intro dropped to the bottom here. So to make it go up to the top where it should be, you can just drag and drop. All right, so maybe I want my intro to be up at the top, my video chat links to be here, my materials and resources to be down at the bottom. You can change these at any time and they'll change just automatically on the student side. And then for each of these, you can rename them if you need to, you can delete them, you can copy the link. So if a student is having trouble and they ask you a question by email, you can just copy the link here and send it to them. So inside each of these different topics, you can now create different things. You can create an assignment, a quiz assignment, a question. You can post material. This could be a reading for students. Did you have a question?
I'll close the door.
Oh, Anna, can you mute your mic?
Sorry.
No worries, thank you. Or you can reuse a post. So a great one to reuse all the time that a lot of the teachers we've talked to have been doing is reusing a reflection prompt. So if you want students to reflect on something, you can post it multiple times by just reusing it. So let's say I want to put in some material. This is a intro video to Google Classroom. Watch this video to learn about how to use Google Classroom. And you can add videos from YouTube, or you can add a video that you've already downloaded from Google Drive. This Google Drive link will take you to you can of course see your recents, you can upload things, work in shared drives, but this will immediately go to all the things that you put into your Google Classroom, Google Drive that you have connected to this, which I'll show you in a minute. If you don't have a file, I mean, you could classroom student instructions. You can certainly, maybe this is a great video that I identified before. If you don't have something that you've already created, you can actually create it on here as well. If you create a doc or slides or sheets, drawings or forms. Usually what I've liked to do in the past is create the document beforehand and make sure that I've worked on it, I've edited it, I've made sure that my student instructions are really clear, and then I assign it to students. And I might even repeat some student instructions in here so that they're really explicit for students. So remember, digital teaching means that you might not immediately be available to clarify student instructions. So you need to make sure that your student instructions are really, really clear and you're giving them step by step what they're doing, step by step what they're accessing, and what they're turning in, so that they don't have to ask you a million questions by email. So once you, let's say I want to create a document on here as well. This could be a student reflection, and I give them some sentence prompts. So now this is created, and I can post it to my students. So I have the choice to post it just to this classroom of students, or I can post it to multiple classes that I have on my Google Classroom. I can also, if I'm just in this class, I can post it to all students, or if I had students on this class, I could select individual students that I want to post this to. So if I want to give them differentiated student assignments, or maybe just assign work to students that I know haven't turned something in, I can post it to certain students. You can also put it into a certain topic right here. So since this is my intro to Google Classroom, I want this to go into the intro topic, and then it'll post there as soon as I post. I can also have the choice to post it right now, which is what post will do, or I can schedule something. I can schedule it. Let's say I don't want this to schedule now. I want it to schedule for tomorrow at 8 a.m. So I can control when it posts. So you could plan for the week when you want to post things. You can also save it as a draft so that you can come back and work on it later. So these are all of the options available for this one. For right now, I'm going to post, and you'll see that it popped into here. If I accidentally put it into the wrong topic, I can just drag and drop it into here. If I want to pop it into another place, you can just drag and drop it. Really easy layout to control and manipulate. So the class drive that I alluded to before is available on this classwork page. So if I want to now find, remember I just created that student reflection. Now it's here on this class drive. It's also here on students' class drives, as long as I've shared it with them and made sure that it's already assigned. Now it's on their classroom drives that they are now linking to from their class drive folder link. All right, if I've assigned something to students, it will also show up on the Google Calendar. So these things are made to be helpful tools for your students. And it might help at some point. I know a couple of teachers have figured out how to, like if you have another account on your domain that you can access or your IT person can help you create, you can actually sign into your class as a student if you have another account and see it as a student. It might be helpful as you're giving them directions to just make sure that they're really clear and really referring to what students see on their side. But usually what teachers see and what students see are pretty similar. All right, so let's demo real quick, creating one more type of post here. And I'll show you that schedule part again on this assignment. So let's say this is project 1. And I'll show you up here real quick. You can schedule things on the drop-down menu up here next to where it says assign. If you want to schedule this assignment for tomorrow or next week or whatever, you can always schedule or change that at any time. All right. This is project 1, complete project 1. Yay. So if I want to add whatever I need to add, so this one I'll show you. This is one of the resources that we've created, Mouse Open Projects. I could just link to this outside resource, and students are creating, are using that outside resource. If I want to link a file that students need to access, you can do it here, or I can get a file from Google Drive. All right. And when I link a file from Google Drive, you have a couple of options on here in the assignment. So students can view file. That just means that students can see it. And if you wanted them to make a copy, they would have to do it manually. You can also do, students can edit a file, meaning that you would be all editing the same file, and students could write on it or add to it. That's only if you're collaborating on as a class on one Google Doc. Then there's also this option, which I think students use more often, or teachers use more often. So this actually makes a copy for each student, and it is shared back with the teacher and put into that assignments folder. So this is probably the most useful for you if you want students to all complete their own individual reflections. And you would need to, give these explicit directions or specific directions down here so that students know what they're doing, know what they're submitting, all those things. All right. So once again, you can assign this to one class or multiple classes. You can assign this to specific students in one class. You can, we won't talk entirely about grading, but I'll just show you, you can adjust your points on here, or you can leave this ungraded, and or however your school deals with points, or you deal with points in your classroom, you can change it to that. You can adjust the due date. And I'll show you a sample due date on here so you'll see where it pops up on your home screen. And you can put this into a topic from your main page. Let's say this is English Project 1. You can also add a rubric, which I'm not going to show you this time around, but it's good to play with. And I think there is a, maybe not on here, but I know there are a couple of tutorials on how to use rubrics on Google Classroom. They can get pretty complex, so you can really work nicely with rubrics. Originality reports, just click there to learn more. It's to make sure that students aren't plagiarizing, but I think it's a pro feature or an extra feature. So let's say I'm assigning this. Now that I've created this, I'm making a copy for each student. I'm just checking I have everything attached, and I click assign. And now I'm going to find it in my English projects under that topic, all right? If I create something and I didn't put it in a topic from the assignment, it'll just go up here in like project, the generic project area, and I'll just have to work it down into one of the topic areas. All right. So at this point, I am going to, hold on a second. I wanted to show you this real quick first. So remember how I assigned that English project and I said it was due on Wednesday? So now on my stream, I can see that there's a project due on Wednesday, and students see this on their streams too, so they can click on it and access that project directly. All right, and when I look in this project, these are the student instructions, and from the teacher side, I can see student work. And as students submit their work, I will see it come in here, and I can grade it directly. All right. So at this point, we are halfway through. I'm going to pause for just questions in the chat. Were there any? I know we have a lot of DOE folks on today that are probably answering your questions one by one on the chat. But are there any questions that we want to bring up to the entire group right now?
This is Jojo. I just want to chime in quickly. Your questions are awesome, and our team, we're just trying to pump in answers. And we also just want to demonstrate that a lot of these, I'm just straight up Googling the question and then finding the support.google page for it. And that's what's amazing about Classroom and why I think it's a good place to go, because the user bank of resources is just massive. So a lot of your questions, I don't remember all of these things. I'm directly Googling it and then finding the Google support page.
Yeah, and
How can we answer the part of the chat?
Can you repeat that question one more time?
Like, people are asking questions and all I see is pictures of you and some other people. I can't see the responses to the questions.
So the chat,
I see it.
if you go to the top right corner, yep. Yeah, then you can follow along on the chat thread. So people are having side help conversations on the chat thread.
Hi, I have a question.
Sure.
Can we receive like a copy of the recording? Then we can keep watching it, because there's so many information and this is my first time to create a Google Classroom.
Yes. So these recordings are going to be posted.
And also, Tom, can I just chime in?
Sure.
I've sent it a bunch of times, and I'm going to put it in the chat now again. We really want you to sign in. and we're going to email out resources as well to these groups, and we're going to do follow-ups. We are working on CTLE credits. We don't want to promise that, but that's why it's good for you to sign in. We're actually doing a sign in and a sign out. So I'm going to post those in the chat a bunch of times throughout. Every like few minutes, I've just been saying, hey, don't forget to sign in. That's why.
Sorry to interrupt you. A quick question. Where
Yeah.
can I find the recording again?
The recordings are
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry,
The
if
recording
you-
can be found on the remote learning calendar. I put it in the chat, but I'm going to quickly just read you the short URL so you have it and you can just write it down.
Thank
So
you.
it's on the second tab of this calendar I'm giving you now. The first
Okay.
tab is where you found this information on all the classes. The second tab will have the videos. DIIT.NYC/remote CAL. And I'm going to put that link also in the chat right now.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, if you haven't found the chat, and we get it, so many people haven't used this, it's right above Tom's head, right there, that little chat box.
Yep.
And go in there, because we're all of these resources, we're pasting these links all in there. That's the place to go.
Cool. All right. So, and I realized a lot of these things are coming at you fast. I want to mention one more big resource that Jojo mentioned. So if you go down to the bottom left corner of the Google Classroom, there is a help center that is really, really helpful. All of these topics, every question that teachers have asked in the past is usually posted as a help topic, and you can just describe your issue. So let's say, how do I get students to sign in, whatever, and it'll search through all the questions that have been asked before and all the help articles that have been asked before. So this is a really helpful resource in getting started. It'll, if you're looking for a step-by-step guide on how to sign in and how to set up a classroom, that's right here. How to create, join, and organize your classes, grading and giving feedback. There's a step-by-step guide. So these are really, really helpful. And then if there's a question that you think has not been addressed on here, you can go to the Google Classroom help community and describe your issue. The actual Google team that works on and builds Google Classroom answers these questions. So if you have an issue that hasn't been addressed, they might even build that into the platform in the future. So it's really helpful for you to describe issues in this help community so that they know what's going on. All right. So going back to Google Classroom, I'm going to go back into, so we started this demo 2, and we actually started this, I'm naming my classrooms terribly today, and now I have 2 mouse demo 2s. If I want to edit something, I can edit it quickly and make this mouse demo 3. So this is what we created so far today. And, it only took me 20 minutes or so to create this, really quick to get started. But let me show you another class that I created with some more assignments. All right, so this one has some more things that I've assigned already, some different types of assignments. And I'll show you, we have at least one student who's actually on this video chat. There have been different things assigned. I know that at least in the icebreaker, which I definitely encourage you to do with students. I know that Gina's been working on a list of icebreakers for students for remote learning. Any icebreaker that you use in the classroom is, possibly able to be translated to remote learning as well. You can assign these to students. I assigned it as a question, so students could answer it directly. And then just to show you this assignment question feature, Tom already turned in his assignment. His fun fact was that he's pretending to be a 9th grade student. And I was able to answer him back and give him some feedback. All right. So, and when students turn things in, you can sort through them. You can select all students. You can select by status, sort by first name or last name, so that you can start to see who has, and of course you can sort just by folks who have turned in their assignments. You can, this is really helpful to make sure that you're organizing your students who've answered things already. All right. So I'm going to show you a couple more things on here. So you'll see now I have multiple assignments that I've given my students. This is the organized thing up here. It'll show you all the upcoming assignments. And if you want to view all of them, this gives you a list of all assignments that are currently assigned to students. And it gives you the detailed view of how many students have turned in that assignment, how many students have been assigned, gives you which ones have no due date and which ones do, so that you can keep these organized. And of course, if you've already reviewed work, you can mark it as reviewed and it'll appear here. All right, so you'll just want to keep your things organized. It might help as you're first getting started to not put in, 2 months worth of work, but just start with a week at a time so that you can find your organization system and keep things, up to date as much as possible. You want to be able to find all the students that haven't been assigned things or haven't turned things in so that you can contact them directly. One thing, speaking of students who haven't turned things in, I believe that the send things to email feature is not working on if you're on the DOE domain, the new DOE domain, but it might work if you're on an old domain that you created. So just make sure that things are working. Make sure that things are getting to students, and make sure that they're accessing the right account. So one thing about Google Classroom that's a safety feature is you can only invite students or people to your Google Classroom if they are on your same domain. All right, so this one is a mouse.org domain, so I can only invite other people who have mouse.org email addresses. That keeps it a closed system so that there's some student privacy here. All right, so you need to make sure that if the DOE created you a new domain and your students are confused, you're just being really clear in your explicit instructions that you're sending home, or that you're messaging to teachers or to students and parents. Like, this is the email address that you need to use for Google Classroom. All right. If there's any questions about that, just make sure you're clearing it with your IT person at school, and the New York City DOE folks are better to answer those questions, because I know it's been a lot of questions about that, but I'm not on the inside, so I don't. So just make sure you ask those questions in the chat, and the DOE folks who are on the chat will help you here. All right. So real quick, let me go back to my home page here. And I want to take you to our other resources that are available to you. So the agenda that we chatted out a bunch of times. Since I'm referencing it right now, I'm going to chat it out one more time. That's the agenda. That is chock full of resources for you. All right, so not only, I'll remind you one more time, the sign in link and the sign out link. This first day of classroom resource that is created by Google with lots of videos for you to check out, including how to use the stream page, grading tool, how to create a quiz, how to create a new class, an assignment, add students, how to copy a course, create different assignments, add materials, and originality reports. And this links out to some other different resources. So that's a great place to start. If you have specific questions after this training, then you can also go to some great Google Classroom tutorials that are on YouTube. This is a whole list of them. I think these are actually the ones that were on that other page, but if you want to go directly to YouTube, they're right here. This is the link to the help page right off the agenda. Using screen readers with Google Classroom is an accessibility feature that students who are visually impaired might need you to walk through doing that. So this is the directions that you could also send to that student or to that student's guardian to make sure that they're accommodated for. One other useful accommodation, so in Google Meet, which is the video chat that we're in right now, I should have said this at the beginning of the chat, just in case any of you wanted to turn on closed captions, just where, in the same place where your mute button is down at the bottom, you can turn on captions, and Google has live captioning. If you have any students who have it on, you might want to speak a little bit slower and a little more clearly so that it actually captures everything a little more accurately, just like you do when you're talking to Siri or any virtual assistant. It's translating it in real time, but that might be helping students who are hearing impaired or students who are English language learners, if they can watch what you're saying along with a video chat. And they can do that on on most YouTube videos that you share with them as well, as long as you give them that specific direction that closed captions are available to them. So let's see. So this is another Getting Started with Google Classroom resource document that's posted in here. This is actually a lesson plan, hey. And of course, there's other resources that the DOE has posted. The FAQ that's posted here has DOE specific questions. This is a great guide for if you have questions related to your student email addresses at the DOE, how to download your list from STARS so that you can upload student email addresses, different DOE specific questions. There's a resource site. There is a presentation with videos that's from this team. There's a printable guide, information about New York City DOE student accounts, and how to download accounts from your STARS classroom. All right, so that's actually just a copy of what's above. Perfect. So I'm going to pause at this point again for any questions that the DOE team wants to bubble up to the entire group.
Tom, this is Jojo. I had to jump off for a minute, but did you show folks how to add a Meet link in the classroom?
Oh, that is a good thing to show folks. Hold on a second. I did not. So that's something that if you have, I'll go to my other demo. If you have video chat links that you're telling students to join at certain times, a lot of teachers create this as a topic so that students can access them. And the most popular video chat tool that you might use is this one that you're currently on. This is Google Meet. All right, so to create a video chat link that students can join and post it, all you have to do is go to meet.google.com. You can also access this from your Google homepage. If you go to Meet, so there's Hangouts is the old version, and then where's my Meet? I don't know if Meet is listed on here for some reason. Meet is the new version. And all you have to do is click join or start a meeting. You can give it a nickname or leave it blank. Student meeting. And you do have to make sure it allows what you're doing here. So make sure that, so students can also call in as well. When you have,
Hey Tom, this is Patrick. You got the URL in the URL bar.
yeah, so you can get the URL from the URL bar and copy and paste it into Google Classroom. Thanks, Patrick. That's the quickest way to do it. Once you join, it'll also pop up here, and you can copy it here. It'll also give you the phone number that students can call in if that's more convenient for them here. All right, so you can also say copy joining info here. If students are having trouble joining and you need them to join, you can also add people once you're in Google Meet through here by email or by phone. So once I have the link, I can go back to my classroom. I can create a material, or if I want this to be assigned to students, let's say I want to assign them to join video chat link at 8 a.m. Too early, 11 a.m. on Tuesday. Click the join video link below. I would add it as a link, and it would be available here. All right, I can, once again, assign it to one class or individual students. So if I just want to invite one student to that video chat link, I could just select that one student. There's no points for this video chat, but I want to create the due date for Tuesday at 11 a.m. so that these students are notified and they have this assignment to join the video chat link on their pages, on their classrooms. I would add this to the topic of video chat links. There's no rubric for this one. It's just a prompt to join. If you want them to access something while they're on the video chat or do an assignment with you while they're on the video chat link, you could definitely assign that here or create it here. If you want to add anything else to this, that's also possible. Once again, you would schedule this or just assign it directly, and it'll pop up in your video chat links topic because that's where you assigned it. All right, and then when students go to their stream, they'll see due tomorrow, 11 a.m., join video chat at 11 a.m. All right. So it's in my classwork. Perfect. All right. So at this point, I will recheck my stream to make sure I've covered everything. DOE team, anything pop up as a question you want to bring up to the whole group?
Someone was just asking about sharing a recorded video of themselves. I think they mean like a just kind of like a welcome message,
Hmm.
which
Yep. There's a couple ways you could do that. Yeah. So as you're assigning classwork, you'll notice, right, you can add either a YouTube link if you upload yourself to YouTube. You can add a file, like a video file. You can add a link to another service, or you can put the file onto Google Drive and just link to it here. All right. So if you are looking to record yourself on Google Meet, there is a, oops, sorry, it was right there. On the bottom right corner here, where it says more options, you can click record meeting. All right. And that is going to record whatever you do with your students during that meeting. And then students, you would have to download it, upload it here, or upload it to a different service, and then post it here as an assignment if you want students to access it. All right. Or you could send it out by email or however else you want to send it.
Hey, Tom, can you demo one more time making a copy for each student?
Sure, absolutely. So if I want to do project 2 here, instructions, make sure they're detailed. I could, so if you create a doc, it doesn't, I don't think it lets you do it. Let's say I make this reflection doc, and I create it on here. Oh yeah, it does actually, never mind. So you can either create a doc or you can add a doc from Google Drive. Let's say I want to share this getting started doc with my students. So for either of these, and maybe that's not shared with everybody. For either of these, you can either have students view the file if you just want it to be a resource that they read. You can have students edit the file if you want them to collaboratively work on it as a classroom. Or you can make a copy for each student. This is maybe what teachers use the most, but it will make an individual copy for each student that is shared back with the teacher so that you know, you have what students are working on individually. So that's kind of like passing out a piece of paper that you've photocopied for each student, except now it's a Google Doc for each student. All right? And all you have to do is assign it, and as they access it, it will create a copy for each student. All right. Any other important questions about that? Yeah.
Eileen, I see that you want to know more about grading student work. While you can absolutely grade within Google Classroom, their gradebook is not yet connected to any of the DOE systems. So until it's like fully connected, we haven't been demoing it that much, just because it would be double the work for teachers. So for now, we do recommend sort of you know, going straight to whatever gradebook your school's using. If you want to use the Google Classroom to show grades to students, great. And there was another question.
Yeah, and once again, for grading, I recommend you check out the videos on the Teacher Center. There is how to use the grading tool in Google Classroom, just in case you want to find out more.
We're also having a Google training this afternoon on Drive and Docs for some of you that wanted to get more info about those. And that's happening at 4 o'clock today. You can get more information by going to the link in the chat box also.
Yes, so that's another training that you'll definitely want to check out, because Google Classroom and Google Drive are intimately connected. So for you to get the most out of Google Classroom, you need to be able to access your class drive and keep it organized. It creates folders automatically for you within your drive. And it does the same for students under the topics that you create here. So you'll want to go to that training as well.
Yep. And Nancy and Ms. Coletti, so when you are creating a copy, when you're doing that make a copy for each student on an assignment,
yep.
Google Classroom is automatically organizing all of that for you. So you don't have to worry about digging into a Google Drive folder to look at a million different copies.
Yes.
You would go to the assignment within Google Classroom to access the student work. And to answer your question, yes, when they get their own copy, the students can then modify and work on that specific copy that you made for them. And Jordy, regarding writing assignments and forms and et cetera, just like my colleague Gina said, later on today, there will be a Google Drive specific session. But one of the options that Tom was demoing here is when you create an assignment, you can do a quiz assignment. And that quiz assignment automatically sets your Google form to quiz mode.
Yeah.
Right? That's completely optional.
Yeah, and I wanted to show you in your People tab, you can click on a specific student to access all of their work and see all the things that they've turned in, that have been assigned to them, and how far they've gotten so far. So if you're doing like an individual check-in with a student or their guardian, you can go to this page for the most up-to-date information on that specific student. You can also, I think I mentioned this at the beginning of the training, you can share each class with different teachers at your school. So let's say there's an elective teacher who teaches all the students in the grade and they want to be a part of all the classes. You could share this specific classroom with them if they need to assign something to your students. So you'll want to work that out within your grade teams, within your schools, and make sure you come to a consensus about how that's going to work in your schools.
So we are almost at time. I'm going to pop in the sign in one last time. Please do that so we can just have you in our bank of emails and we can keep you connected. And then I'm going to actually pop in a quick sign out. Thanks so much for joining, everyone. Tom, that was awesome. You calmed me down, Tom. I feel relaxed. We're gonna do this, people.
Yeah.
And we're gonna be running these sessions every day, multiple times a day. So keep coming back. Definitely invite your colleagues. We are here to support you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. And make sure you stay for the sign out link. That's an important one, just in case they get CTLE credit approved for all of these, especially. And of course, you know, your feedback is important to improve these trainings and make sure that teachers are getting the best support possible. And thank you also for everything you're doing to support your kids in this this interesting time we have going on. I hope everyone's healthy at home.
I'm going to stop recording now, guys.
All right, perfect.
All right.